In this video, I want to explain something I think a lot of people misunderstand completely about narcissists, and I'm going to do this video a little differently. I'm going to speak as if I was a narcissist. Now, obviously I'm not, but I think sometimes hearing the mindset directly is what finally helps people emotionally detach and understand what they actually went through. Because I think many of you are still secretly hoping your pain hurt them the way their behavior hurt you. And this is where people get trapped emotionally for years. So let's get started. If I was a narcissist, what would actually hurt me? Well, first, in order to get to that, let me tell you what doesn't hurt me. Your tears do not hurt me the way you think that they do. At first, they might make me uncomfortable or might make me feel annoyed or frustrated, especially if it's in public, but they do not emotionally break me in the way that you might imagine. Because if I was a narcissist, your sadness would often feel more like emotional pressure than emotional connection. Your panic attacks would not humble me in any way, shape or form. Your begging would not suddenly make me empathize with you in any way. Your paragraphs that you text explaining your pain would not magically unlock accountability inside me. And this is why so many victims become exhausted, because they keep believing if they could just understand what they've done to me. But if I was a narcissist, I probably already know you're hurting. The problem is this: your pain is not the center of my emotional system. There's only one thing I care about. There's one thing at the center: me. I am. And that changes everything. Now listen carefully to this next part, because this is where people get a little bit confused, okay? If I were a narcissist, I might still react emotionally when you cry, but not always because I feel empathy at all. Sometimes because your emotion affects my comfort. Maybe I want the argument to stop. Maybe I want peace again. Maybe I want control back. Maybe I want the version of you that emotionally regulates me. But that is very different to true emotional accountability. And this is why victims stay stuck trying to prove their pain time and time again. They think if I can just explain it perfectly enough, maybe they will finally start to care. But if I was a narcissist, I do not experience relationships the way you do. You are trying to emotionally connect. I'm trying to emotionally regulate myself through you. Now here is where it'll get a little bit deeper, okay? If I was a narcissist, one thing that would not hurt me is your loyalty. In fact, I would expect it from you. I would expect your patience, your understanding, and your forgiveness. I would slowly start treating those things like guarantees instead of something like a gift. And over time, I would probably lose respect for how much you tolerate while still staying emotionally attached to me. That is one of the darkest truths narcissistic victims eventually start to realize. The more they abandon themselves trying to save the relationship, the less the narcissist valued them. Because if I was a narcissist, your unconditional love would not heal me. I would enable my emotional control. By the way, just quickly, if you're new here, my name's Brandon. I have over 1 million people that follow my daily insights across all social media channels. If you're finding this video helpful, I'd really appreciate it if you click like. Let me know what you found helpful in the comments and I'll get back to you. And consider subscribing as I make new videos every week. Now here is the really, really important part. If I were a narcissist, there is only one thing that truly hurts me. And it is not your anger. It is 100% never going to be your sadness. And honestly, your threats mean nothing to me. It's not even you leaving physically at first. It's not emotional disconnection. That is the thing narcissists fear most. The moment I realize I no longer emotionally affect you, that is when panic starts appearing underneath the surface. Because if I was a narcissist, control is how I emotionally survive in relationships. So the second you stop reacting emotionally to me, something shifts psychologically. If you stop chasing, stop explaining, stop proving or begging or trying to make me understand, suddenly I can no longer emotionally reach you the same way. And that is terrifying to me if I'm a narcissist, because narcissists need emotional access. Even negative emotional access. It doesn't need to be positive. I don't care. Your anger still feeds control. Your sadness still feeds control. Your obsession feeds the control. But indifference, peace, going no contact, emotional detachment from me, that feels like absolute death to a narcissist. And this is why many narcissists escalate when they feel somebody emotionally starting to slip away. Suddenly, all of a sudden, they become nicer, more emotional, more vulnerable. And then on the flip side of that, they can also, if they know you well enough, they'll be the opposite. They'll be crueler, colder, more financially controlling, more manipulative. Because if emotional control stops working, then there's something that they go to next. They move to practical control. And this is where financial abuse often appears massively. Because if I were a narcissist and I could no longer control you emotionally, if I no longer had a place in your heart, I would try to control your survival. How does that look? That means I would control your money, legal stress, delay stuff. I would cause fear and uncertainty, because as long as I can still emotionally disturb your nervous system, part of me still feels connected to you psychologically. You're still part of my supply. That's why some narcissists drag out separation for years and years. And it's not because they love someone deeply, because they cannot tolerate losing emotional dominance completely. That's what they're doing. But here is the part narcissists hate most of all. If you eventually sort everything out legally, rebuild financially, heal emotionally, and stop reacting to them completely, if I'm a narcissist, I lose. Not because I lost somebody who loved me perfectly, but because I lost access to controlling somebody who once emotionally revolved all around me. That is the wound narcissists struggle with. Watching somebody they once controlled become emotionally unreachable to them, especially when that person becomes totally peaceful without them. And the strange part about all this is, if I were a narcissist, I might even sit there convincing myself I never cared about you anyway. However, deep down, what hurts is realizing that I no longer influence your emotional world. You no longer fear me, need me, chase me, explain yourself to me. You simply moved on. That is the thing narcissists struggle with the most. Not lost love, okay? It's not that they lost you as a partner. It's losing control. There's no sentimental value. And I think some of you watching this need to hear this deeply today. The moment you emotionally reconnect with yourself fully, the narcissist loses their strong weapon against you, because narcissistic control only survives through emotional access. And when somebody can no longer emotionally reach you at all, the entire system starts to collapse. If this video was helpful, I'm going to leave another one on the screen. Check it out and let me know what you think. Until next time, take care.